one of these guards, I think, have to be traded. And at this point, I think one of these guards will be traded before the deadline. I don't know if they'll be able to justify, not even to the fan base. I don't know if they'll be able to justify within themselves trading away Jewell Lloyd, considering that they traded away Kelsey Plum to get her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big fan of Jackie Young, and I don't think you should trade Jackie Young. But if we're being realistic,
in terms of value, though,
she's the most valuable guard on the team. But I'm still going to say that maybe Chelsea Gray gets traded, and maybe maybe they try to go get a guard who isn't the caliber of Chelsea Gray, but can still at the very least run this offense in a way that can allow Jackie Young to be on the ball a bit more when she's, which is what she's a little bit better at. Allow Jewell Lloyd to be on the ball a little bit more, which we all know she's one of the best on ball, players, on ball scorers in the league. Like, one of these three guards, I think, might get traded. Unfortunately, I don't want it to be Jackie Young, but you're right. She does have the best value. So if you're going to trade a guard and try to get the most back, you would trade Jackie Young. But something has to give. And the challenging part is with the Aces, there's so much wrong with them this season that it's hard to figure out which thing they need to address first if the move is to make a trade.
Yeah, I think that you make a good point. I do. The guard room is something does have to give with the guards. I think we're looking at the guards, and I do think it starts with Jewell, and this is her first year with the team. They even talked about it on the broadcast during the game last night, how Asia and Becky, and I'm sure others too, but obviously starts at the top. They're trying to get Jewell to take more shots. Like they're trying to get her to be. Now, here's what I will say. I'm starting to, even though it worked with, and I'm high on Kelsey Plum. I thought that Aces fans underappreciated what she did for the makeup of that team with her play style. And I had said when they made the move, I'm not sure they're going to be that much better or even as good just because it's Jewell Lloyd and not Kelsey Plum, even though they're both really good scorers. The style, the way that they score, I just had to see it. I wasn't sure if that was gonna suffice. I've said to you that I feel like the number one thing the Aces have needed is for Jackie Young to ascend as one of the top guards in the league. Now, she probably is that already, respectfully. The thing about trading Jackie is that she's your best defensive guard. So if you were to trade, to your point about possibly trading Chelsea Gray, just get you like a solid point guard who's younger and better on both ends, more so on defense. Probably you probably need more of a defensive point guard just so you can like get some defense back. If you were to trade Jackie, you trade because Jewell and Chelsea are not that good defensively. No. So you give away Jackie, you're really trading your best perimeter defender. Your best perimeter defender. So but it's tough. I mean, I think you're right. I think something has to give. I think it's possible maybe one of the guards get traded. I don't know if they're going to do it though. I think if they do that, it's a signal that they are blowing it up and looking to rebuild, and they're fast tracking their way towards the horizon. If they make a trade with one of those guards this season, because I don't know what kind of deal they could make that's gonna, now again, like you might get something back that just kind of makes you a little more solid, maybe a younger, more defensive guard. Maybe that does something, but I even watching that game last night, I'm like, Jackie Young, and I guess my ultimate point is I'm not sure if the version of Jackie Young that I think the Aces need can necessarily coexist with the version of Jewell Lloyd that we feel like the Aces need. I just don't know if it can happen, because I think both of them need to be on the ball, aggressive. Jackie's playmaking is kind of like iffy. I don't know if I always trust it as a passer, in the pick and roll game, ball in her hands, making decisions. She's not the table setter and passer that Chelsea Gray is. But I think that's the challenge. It's like you need Jackie to be that lead guard, that playmaking guard and scoring. But then you need Chelsea Gray to be Chelsea Gray, which is scoring and assisting. But then you also need Jewell Lloyd to be Jewell Lloyd, which is mainly scoring. But if Asia's scoring and if Chelsea's got reps and if Jackie got reps, that's what we're seeing right now, where Jewell's reps and her shot attempts are just not there. I will say it may help especially Jewell, a little bit. If there's some time missed with Asia not out there, I don't know if they have enough to win games. If they're playing well, they can compete in games, maybe steal a couple, but it might help just with getting Jewell a little more in rhythm, a little more acclimated, get her a little more volume. So when Asia is back, maybe specifically Jewell has a little more rhythm and confidence to her scoring the ball. But that guard thing is what they have to figure out, because it's like, man, when they were rolling a couple years ago, when they were dominant, like, and this is why I brought up, like, look, I think Chelsea, Jewell, and Jackie can play together and play well. I don't think there's like a link, a weak link in the chain, or like I think their play styles can work together. I just spent years watching Kelsey Plum and Jackie Young put it together, because I feel like Kelsey just had a unique way of being that Manu Ginobili aggressor. I'm going to go score. I'm going to go do what I do, which I know I can go on a 6-0 run and a 7-0 run by myself. And it just worked in between what Chelsea did, what Jackie did. And it just worked. There was so much rhythm to it. They had the ball popping system that Becky Hammon would talk about during that time, where we want the ball popping. That's not what they have now. It's just not the same. And so I think that does fall back on the guard room.
I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm trying to figure out like what a reasonable solution is. And this might not be reasonable, but it's possible. And again, I agree with you. I do think if one of these guards is traded, it's probably a sign that they're going to try to blow this up. And you and I talk about all the time, when it comes to like big moves like this in basketball, it usually takes a year to figure it out. And then the second year is when it comes back and it looks a little bit more like how we thought. So it's very possible that the Aces are just going to ride this out until the end, however far it takes them, which is probably not making the postseason for the first time in I don't know how long. But I'm thinking, because you and I talked about during the game, Dana Evans, I think, was our second leading scorer. She had 16 points or something like that. And I wonder if there were a scenario where the Aces were to say, you know what, let's trade one of these guards now. I wonder if the way that Dana Evans has been playing off the bench would give them maybe a little bit more comfort in the possibility of doing so, and just having her move up to the starting spot, whatever that means. That would probably mean you're trading Chelsea Gray to get her moved up into the starting lineup. But the other thing I thought about too is, and we talked about on the show when Teresa was on the show at the end here, I think they might just need to pull the trigger on Jewell Lloyd coming off the bench. And
yeah, because I don't think they ever tried
it. They haven't done that. She's been starting every game. They haven't tried it yet. That very well could be the difference between what we're seeing now and what they could look like post All-Star weekend. Because at this point, if they were to make that move, that's a move that will be made coming out of All-Star weekend, once they've taken a look at the first half of the season, figure out where they're at and see where they're trying to go. But I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, even with that, like looking at our bench depth, like it's Dana Evans, it's Aaliyah Nye, it's Megan Gustafson, who, as far as I know, hasn't played a game all season, and it's Kia Stokes. That's not like a list of players that like makes me jump for joy. You know what I mean? And I think they all do things well. I've been a fan of Aaliyah Nye I was very excited when we drafted her. I like what she did in preseason. She's been really good in spots over the course of the season. Like, I like that. But I'm just again going back to like the importance of a bench. I'm thinking about like what the Liberty have. I'm thinking about what Phoenix has. These are teams who have not just a bench, but they have players who, when other players go down, can easily fit into the starting lineup, and the team still functions and the team still flows. And I just think there's a precipitous drop off between the talent in our starting lineup and the talent on our bench. And that's again why I'm going back to, maybe you do trade one of these guards for the sole purpose of getting something back to kind of bolster that bench. I think back to when I brought up the Chelsea Gray thing, talking about sending her to Chicago. And at first I said, you probably want to get a point guard back from that, and the best that they have to offer is Haley Van Lith, and you probably don't want that if you're Vegas. But also, Haley Van Lith, as a rookie, all she would need to do is just run the pick and roll and find the open man, and she can do that. We saw her do that in college. I don't think that would be a bad idea. I don't think they would do that, but I don't think that would be a bad idea in hindsight, right? It kind of flows things out. It gets the ball out of She's not going to have the ball as much. It gets the ball into Jackie Young's hands a bit more. It gets the ball into Jewell Lloyd's hands a bit more. Like there are options. I think and I think Vegas knows that there are options.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why they didn't trade for Aaliyah Edwards even is because that would be an admission that something is. They would probably have to give a little bit more for Aaliyah Edwards than they would have for Alyssa Smith, which is why I think they made the Alyssa Smith trade. I'm just trying to rationalize in my head, like there's so much kind of not working that it's hard to pinpoint exactly what the first thing to address should be.
So the Chicago trade, remember I said to you, it was kind of, I just had a just out of the box hypothetical idea. Like what if they traded for Angel? Like what if Angel Reese would be the kind of front court help that Asia needs, like, again, the burden and the fatigue of having to be the, leading all stat categories is great, but it's tiring. It's a burden. Like that's something to brag about, but it's also something to be concerned about when you have one player leading all stat category. Like that can be great, but that can also be detrimental. So with the Chicago trade, when you bring up Chelsea Gray, because look, you could get back, like, it wouldn't just be Haley Van Lith. Like, you could maybe get like Elizabeth Williams out of that. Because I don't think Chicago's giving up Angel Reese. I think Chicago would decide to really say no. I don't think they're looking to trade her. But if Chicago could get Chelsea Gray, you could offload Haley Van Lith, send Elizabeth Williams too. You might need to send one more thing, a pick or a player, because it's Chelsea Gray. Like she did, we know Jackie Young has the highest value, but Chelsea Gray could still get you something, like a couple,
at this point in her career, she can still get you a little something.
Get you something, and that would be great to get Chelsea Gray in there to play with Angel. We've said anyone who knows anything about basketball and have watched the Chicago Sky can easily point out the fact that they need a real point guard, like a really good point guard, to really maximize what they have with Angel and Camilla. So that would be interesting. And I mean, Elizabeth Williams, she's the type of big, like true post and big, that could also help Asia out in her own way. So I don't know. Chicago would be interesting. Chicago probably would more so want Jackie Young. Probably.
If the trade package,
I think Chelsea Gray would intrigue them.
If the package is Haley Van Lith, Elizabeth Williams, and a pick for Jackie Young, the Aces would say no.
Yeah, they're not doing that.
They would not do that.
You're definitely not.
You would need. It
would have to be more.
You would need Angel or Camilla back if we're going to give you Jackie Young. Again, nothing's probably going to happen. I can sit here and I can throw trade packages and potential trade proposals at the wall all I want. I just know that at some point, these are great players, and I think they'll figure out a way to make it work. Whether that means Jewell coming off the bench, whether that means making a trade, but I'm still looking at just a scenario where, in all likelihood, the version of the Aces we see at the end of this season, I think, and I'm hoping, will pale in comparison to the version of the Aces that we see next year. I think they'll be able to actually figure it out, and I think things would be better next year. But the only downside to that is when you look at the landscape of the WNBA right now, like obviously you have New York and Minnesota. Atlanta's not going anywhere, it seems, right? Phoenix isn't going anywhere, it would seem. You and I talk about how you can't be afraid of everyone should be afraid of Seattle because they're not afraid of anybody. We know that Indiana's not going anywhere. Like, so so what I will say is about the window closing, I don't think it's closed yet, but I will agree that it's closing because the WNBA is catching up talent-wise. And it's just going to be more competitive. It's not going to be, as easy of a road. Not to say that the previous roads were easy. I mean, we had some absolute barn burners of series to win these championships. But the path is going to get a little bit more treacherous as the years go on, as more teams are added, and as players continue to get better, and as more talent that's not in the WNBA right now joins the WNBA in the next 3, 4, 5 years. So I don't want to do like the LeBron thing and say as long as you have A'ja Wilson, your window is never closed. But what I will say is as long as A'ja Wilson's in her prime, I don't think your window's ever closed. But she can't be backpacking a team of 4 Olympians all the time. Like they have to do their fair share.